is in conversation with, okay, I don't want to butcher your name.
Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé.
Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. That's a really pretty name.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start off with some like fun questions first. Do you put the milk before or after the cereal?
I actually don't like cereal, but if I was to have cereal, probably after.
Okay, that's a good answer. And what is a fun fact about you that nobody knows, if you're comfortable with sharing it?
I guess rom-coms, I really like them. People get surprised because they think I'm a dark person. So yeah, I like rom-coms a lot.
What's your favorite rom-com?
That's so difficult. I really like Bride Wars, if that even counts as a rom-com. It's kind of about friendship and like a war in a wedding. So I don't know if that counts, but yeah.
I've actually never seen that movie.
Oh, it's amazing. I really love it. I think it's just so like fun. I watch it like constantly.
So what's a book you would call a classic without fitting the census of what a classic is?
Oh, do you mean like a classic in the sense of it being old?
Not exactly, but like, you know, like nowadays, we still use like old white people books as a classic, but now, being that we're a lot more open to what is a classic, what would you say is a classic?
I think this counts as a classic anyway, but it's Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I'm obsessed with that book. I just love James Baldwin generally, but that book is just so beautiful.
Oh, what's it about?
It's basically about this guy, and he's like American, but he moves to Paris to kind of find himself, and he kind of falls in love with a boy there. And it's really sad and depressing, but like it's just so interesting reading queer literature from back in like those times, because it's kind of a different landscape both in publishing but also the world. So it's just so interesting. And I also haven't really read much books set in France before, so it was really interesting.
I might pick that up then. Okay, now on to like some general questions. So what inspired you to start writing?
I think I just like love storytelling. Like when I was younger, my mum would like tell me random stories or just like recite folklore from like Nigerian myths and legends. And so I've always just loved like just kind of the way storytelling has felt to me. And I've always wanted to recreate that feeling in other people. So I wrote like my first book when I was 10, and I showed it to my teacher, and she was like laughing, even though it was a very serious book about witches. And she was laughing, and she was like, tell me when you get published when you're older. And yeah, I think she really encouraged me. So I've always loved writing.
Do you still have that book that you wrote?
It actually pops up once in a while, like in like the garage or something, like just come out, and my sisters are laughing, so I always hide it somewhere, but it always like comes back out somewhere. So it's somewhere in my house, but I just don't know where.
So what has been the like best part of being an author?
I think it's just kind of like working with other people, like my team and everything. You just like, you have this crazy idea in your head, like an idea that just feels like it's going to be difficult to like translate into words, and it just kind of stays in your head for a very long time, and you don't think anyone else is going to like it, and then you kind of meet other people in publishing who are friends or critique partners, and then eventually your agent and your publishing team, and it just feels so good to have people that are so supportive and really believe in the book in the same way you do.
So how do you find the balance with like school, writing, and work?
I don't think I do. I feel like I'm always like sacrificing something. Right now I'm sacrificing school. Like I have like my thesis due, and I haven't even like written anything, and it's like a lot of words. So I'm just trying to, like, my agent's always checking in and being like, have you started your thesis? And I'm like, no, I haven't.
Oh, what do you major in?
So I do English at uni. Yeah, it's mostly boring because we have to study old white people. But this year we get to do a lot more like authors of color, which has been fun.
Do you guys like offer like ethnic classes?
Like at my university, they offer
Yeah.
ethnic class. No.
Oh.
They're really like, it's really Eurocentric, and when they do like books by authors of color, it's usually like tragic books, which is quite annoying.
Yeah, I thought like ethnic classes were like everywhere now. But
No, I think Scotland needs to catch up.
yeah. So, as a woman of color and a Gen Z author, what was like the biggest obstacle you had to overcome in the whole writing and publishing process?
I think that it's definitely like a mixture of kind of people looking down on you because you're young, and thinking that you're not capable. I've got so many friends that are around my age and they're just so amazing and like so talented. And I think a lot of us have experienced that, and we're all also like people of color. And it's really weird how people kind of think it's a privilege to be young, when a lot of us are, you know, women of color, and we're having to like deal with so many obstacles. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest things I've had to deal with. And another thing I think is like just people kind of being overcritical of people of color in the query trenches. I feel like when you're querying, you'll see certain agents kind of overlook things in white authors' works, but then be like, your book has to be perfect. It has to be kind of like a different level of like amazing in order to even get an agent. So I think that there was a lot of pressure there to kind of have a book be everything, and have no mistakes. So yeah, I think that was difficult.
So, how do you deal with that like pressure and the imposter syndrome?
I think that I have to constantly like speak to good friends around me and just have them just be like good supports, and I also am a good support to them as well. And it's just nice to have that community, because it gets really difficult when you're like in the industry and hearing so many different voices saying different things, and you never really know what's right or if you even belong.
So, what advice would you give to other young authors?
I think to just kind of build a community and a support group, and to kind of focus on why you got into writing in the first place, and to have that be the sole thing kind of pushing you, because it's just so hard sometimes. And I think that having that community and also reminding yourself of why you loved writing in the first place can just be something that can bring you out of darkness.
Well, I'm happy you have a community.
Thank you.
So, was Ace of Spades your first manuscript?
No, I think it was like technically my third serious manuscript. I was writing for like years, but when I decided I wanted to be published, it was kind of the third book I wrote and queried. Before that, I wrote like really bad books. The first one was like a sci-fi Shakespeare retelling, and it was just awful. There was no world building, and I was making it up as I went along. But I think I needed to write it, because I think, you know, you have to write that first book in order to tell yourself you can actually finish a project. Even if it doesn't like work out in the end, then you don't get an agent.
That sounds really interesting, though. The sci-fi Shakespeare retelling. Maybe it could be published.
Oh, I'm scared to even look at it again. I'm really scared. It's the worst thing ever.
Was it like a specific play?
No, it was kind of a mashup of so many plays, and also there were aliens, and they had like invaded and given these random human beings powers. It was just really random.
It's the Shakespeare cinematic multiverse.
Exactly.
So, what was your writing process, and like, how did the idea for Ace of Spades come to you?
So I was starting my first year at university, and I didn't like really feel like I fit in, because I was moving from a very diverse area in London all the way to like a random town in Scotland, and it was very white. I could go days without seeing any person of color, whereas in my high school, for example, in London, it was like mostly Black and Asian. And so I just didn't have that experience before. And I feel like both kind of the culture shock of moving to Scotland and having no friends, and so having nothing to do, I kind of just started to write something that kind of dealt with things I was interested in, and also, had elements of plots I was also interested in. Like I just finished watching Gossip Girl around my first year, and so I really wanted to write a Gossip Girl that focused on Black people. And yeah, I just kind of started writing it, and before I knew it, it was kind of like towards the end of first year, and I had an agent after querying other books and everything. But yeah, that's kind of the process, and the inspiration was just the experience of being like the only Black face in a very white space, and just how terrifying that can be, and the microaggressions that come with that, and how people kind of perceive you and treat you when you like enter those spaces.
Wow, that was really good. Okay. Were there any characters from Ace of Spades directly inspired by Gossip Girl characters?
Yes, I think if people follow me on Twitter, they'll always see me talking about it because I just love them so much. I really love Blair and Dan, and I really ship them together. And I think that should have ended up together, but that's like controversial. And I was inspired by Blair for Chiamaka. She's kind of like a Black version of Blair. And then Dan is like Devon. They're both kind of like on the lower end of the socioeconomic kind of scale, but I guess I don't know, Dan's kind of like middle class, I guess, or maybe even upper middle class, and then the rest of the Gossip Girl cast are like really rich, but Devon's working class, so that's kind of the difference between them, other than him being Black. So yeah, those two characters inspired Devon and Chiamaka.
I think Dan and Blair would end up together, even though
they were perfect for each other.
But I kind of catch that with Chiamaka, that like she is kind of inspired by Blair just by how sassy she is. I already love her.
Thank you.
So are there any other genres you're interested in writing in?
Yes, I'm really like into writing, into the idea of writing like everything. I really want to like try everything and anything because I like to challenge myself. I think the one I really want to try next is like a rom-com, which is really difficult for me because I find it hard not to kill people in books. But I'm like trying to work on something where I don't kill anyone. So yeah.
I look forward to that.
Thank you.
Which character could you connect to the most from your duo?
I think Devon probably, because we're both like from like a working class background, and we're both like we both kind of were entering these white spaces, whereas Chiamaka was very like used to it because that's kind of the world she grew up in. So I think I really relate to him a lot more than just having like a single mother and siblings and stuff, and just that like struggle sometimes. I think he is someone that I relate to more than Chiamaka. She is very different to me.
So if Ace of Spades were to be a movie, what would the main soundtrack song be?
That's such a good question. Actually, do you know the song, or do you know the artist, Todrick Hall?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, I really like his song, There's No Place Like Home. I think it's so creepy and also really depressing. I think it would be really a really good soundtrack.
I actually think I've heard of that song. I'm going to listen to it while reading Ace of Spades. Okay. Any other work in progress you'd like to talk about?
I'm currently working on my second book, and it's kind of like got Mean Girls vibes, and it's like more about feminism and kind of friendship, and it's very sapphic, so I'm really excited to finish writing it.
Oh, I'm excited for that. I'm so happy. I love sapphic books.
Me too, they're amazing.
Right. And lastly, what do you want readers to take from Ace of Spades?
I think I want readers to take away the kind of the idea that Black people can be centered in like cool mysteries, and also that we deserve happy endings. It's not really a spoiler because I think I always put it out there that I'll never like, I guess, give my Black characters really awful endings. I just don't think it's something I want to put out there. I want to like kind of make sure that there is that like message of hope at the end. So I hope they take away that, you know, despite all of the things that we face and like kind of the struggles we go through as Black people or people of color in general, we deserve happy endings.
Well, Oh, thank you. Also, I've been reading Ace of Spades. It's such a good book.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for the interview again, and I hope to read more.